So I did listen to last week's podcast, and I realized I hadn't actually, because I talked about the events of Rose and how Clara's mother's death had seemingly been very close to that. And I actually may have been wrong, because I had thought that the events of Rose were happening like on the same date that the episode aired. But apparently there is a missing poster in...
I thought about that, but I didn't. I just assumed it was the same day. So it jumped into my mind. I said, I wonder what the missing poster in Aliens of London says.
Right. And so, because I didn't watch the episode, but I researched this. And it turns out the internet has all the information I need.
Yes.
In case you were wondering about the internet does actually contain all that. It says that Rose, the character, not the episode, was missing from March 6th. So that actually means that the events of Rose probably did happen on the 5th, which is when Clara's mother died. And I think that's very interesting.
Weird.
It is weird. And I wonder what that means, and if that means something, or if it's just some crazy red herring.
But on the other hand, if you look at the 11th hour, and if you look at Rory's name badge...
Right.
I mean, you can't always trust these dates that appear on screen, props and set dressing.
Right.
You can't really trust those as having any kind of meaning.
Right. And I don't. It's just a thing that I thought was weird. And maybe it'll have zero bearing on anything going forward, or maybe it'll have some bearing on something. But that was just a thing that I decided to follow up on, and that has nothing to do with Logopolis.
It's a little bit of follow-up. It's just a little bit of FU.
Exactly.
I'm Tom Dickinson.
And I'm Louis Midas.
And this is The Cloister Room,
a podcast about Doctor Who and other things.
So, Logopolis.
Logopolis indeed.
Would you like to talk about Logopolis?
I would like to talk about Logopolis.
Now, had you seen Logopolis before?
I had seen Logopolis. I knew I was going to screw that up eventually. I knew that was going to happen. I have seen Logopolis before, but I was kind of half watching it. I was playing a video game while watching it.
Whoa.
Which is... Yeah, I was trying to multitask, and I'm actually really bad at multitasking.
Most people are, including people who think that they're very good at it, are actually very bad at it.
Yeah. So it turns out that I wasn't actually watching Logopolis very closely, so it was like watching it for the first time.
And I'm sure that there were also things that made more sense in context, because you hadn't previously seen the stories that preceded it, had you?
No, I had not. So yes, I did get a little bit more context. Like, I'm pretty sure I didn't really fully understand who Nyssa was, or anything like why she appeared. So yes, but I did know who Adric was because I saw what was it? I think it was Earthshock. Yeah, where he died.
Oh wow! It's kind of like how the first time the Doctor meets River Song, she dies. So the first time you met Adric, he died.
Yes. Precisely like that.
What did you think of Logopolis?
I liked it, actually. I really, really liked it.
Yeah, I like it a lot. I think there are parts of the plot that just don't make very much sense or aren't explained all that well.
Yeah.
But the tendency I'm finding in Classic Who as a modern viewer, I find a lot of Classic Who stories tend to drag and have slow pacing, but Logopolis is just chock full of lots and lots and lots of stuff.
Yeah.
And it's barely even introduced one idea before jumping ahead to the next idea, so it gives it this nice, this really nice fast-paced feel that I thought was very interesting.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of different, very different locations, that they go to. So it's not like they just land somewhere and they have an adventure and then they get back in the TARDIS and leave. They actually, they do travel. There's a lot of travelings going on. I don't really remember exactly when it's in the TARDIS and when it's in. I think they use the Master's TARDIS at one point. I don't really remember, but I know that they were traveling around a bit, and that was cool. I like that. I like when the TARDIS gets used as part of the adventure, as opposed to just stepping out and then that being it until they're done.
Yeah, and the TARDIS is very much like what kicks off the whole adventure.
Yeah,
because the Doctor just kind of decides, well, I guess I'm going to fix the TARDIS now.
Yeah, just one of those things. Figured, wait a few hundred years and let's fix this. Yeah. So yeah, and that's cool. I like that. I liked sort of the whole concept of why the Doctor was going to Logopolis, and I like the concept of Logopolis itself. Like, I like the idea that it's like this big sort of living hive mind computer type thingy. I think that's cool. I don't know how that actually works, but I think it's cool.
Yeah, like, and for instance, the head Logopolitan, what was he, the Mentor? Is that what he's called? Something like that?
Was it the Monitor?
Monitor, yeah. The Monitor, he says that their computations, their block transfer computations, can only happen on living tissue and not on computers, and it's not really explained why that would be the case.
Right.
But sure, why not? I mean,
yeah.
There's ideas in philosophy that suggest the same thing.
Yeah, and there you go. And that's and I wasn't even really looking for an explanation, so I'm glad I didn't get one, because I would have been upset by the fact that they were giving me an explanation that I just didn't want.
That would have been pretty terrible. So much happens in the story. Like, it sets up a brand new companion in Tegan, and also kind of a new companion in Nyssa, and it really introduces the new version of the Master, whom we only saw briefly.
Right.
And it writes out the Fourth Doctor in a way that kind of focuses on the end coming for him with this weird sort of Watcher thing.
Yeah.
And it repairs the TARDIS, and then it explains. Actually, this is something I did not pick up on the first time I watched, or even the second time I watched. This is the third time I think I've seen it. Mm-hmm. And the Logopolitans were, they were staving off entropy in the universe by creating the CVEs, which are little thingies that siphon off entropy into E-space. Which is something I didn't pick up on, because the CVE is how the Doctor and Romana first enter E-space.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Which brings it full circle, so to speak. Yeah, yeah. So it's a lot more interconnected than I realized at first, because that was sort of the cause of all the events.
Yeah. That's really cool. This season's all very interwoven, and that's neat. I like that. A
lot of talk about entropy.
Yeah, a lot of talk about entropy. I don't know if that's actually how entropy works. They basically have some magical way of absorbing entropy or keeping it at bay, which I don't think that. I mean, okay, they have this magical sort of thingy, but I don't think you can actually do that. I don't think that's even a part of pseudoscience. I don't think.
Well, basically, they flush it into E-space. So,
yeah,
I don't think that makes any sense, but.
No, because the whole point of entropy is not like stuff. It's not like radioactive particles or anything. It's just energy that has gone from a really dense form to a very not dense form. So saying that you're taking entropy away, that means you're putting energy back. That's it would be taking the heat that's given off from a laptop battery and putting that heat energy back into the battery so that the battery becomes more charged again. But that does not really make sense.
I'm willing to accept that it makes sense for the sake of the story.
No, and I absolutely am as well.
Because you're right, you are kind of right when you say that it's magical, which is fine in my opinion.
No, yeah, definitely.
It sounds very sciencey, and that's all that really
I guess so. So yeah, no, I'm absolutely willing to grant it this little exception that what they're talking about really doesn't make sense, but I don't really care, because I like this episode, and I like a lot about it. I'm just willing to put aside the science, which is something I think you have to be ready to do, just in general, and just watch the episode, and I'm completely fine doing that.
One of the things that kind of goes on in this season is Christopher Hamilton Bidmead, the script editor, very much wanted to bring in real scientific concepts But
Right.
he always brings them in a way that just isn't explained very well.
Right.
Like with going all the way back to the Leisure Hive with the tachyon, the tachyons, and just doesn't explain what those are and why they let you float around with your limbs detached. And here it's like entropy. I mean, that's a real concept in science, and the notion that entropy will increase in a closed system. I guess the idea is that opening up gateways to e-space opens the system.
Right. But that, right. I mean, like, so when I heard that, what I thought they were saying was that they were pulling energy out of e-space, and because that's what you would do if you were going to open up a system.
Right. Yeah.
You'd want to put energy into that system. So that's what I thought. That's what I thought they were trying to say.
So what's going to happen to e-space then?
Yeah, I don't know.
You'd think that whatever they're doing would increase entropy in e-space.
Right.
Which Romana's there. We like her.
That's not cool. Yeah.
And there's a bunch of lions.
Yeah, those lions. Oh man, they're gonna be all upset about their entropy.
Probably.
Get all entropified up in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Oh well.
Yeah, I guess. Oh well is kind of just what you gotta be a reaction to that. It's Romana's fault. She shouldn't have been in there.
No.
She should know not to stay in e-space. It's just...
Yeah, and because of Romana staying there, now the Doctor can't go to Gallifrey.
That's right.
So, one thing we were wondering about when we talked about the Keeper of Traken was how the Master has the ability to take over someone else's body.
Yeah.
Which was actually explained here.
Wait, was it?
It was briefly explained where Adric asks the Doctor, can any Time Lord do that? And the Doctor says, not just any Time Lord, but a Time Lord who still has some leftover keeper powers.
Oh, that's right. I do remember that.
Yeah, so that's at least some kind of explanation for why the Master has magic abilities to take over people's bodies.
Uh-huh. So he okay. And when I heard that line, I interpreted that to mean that that was something that could happen just because he had just been the Keeper, and that would eventually fade. But I guess that's not true if we assume that the TV movie is still using that same concept.
Yeah, but then again, it could be an entirely different concept.
Right, and it could, that could definitely be true because it is a different effect. So maybe that's the distinction. Is that, as we already talked about, there's a different graphical representation of him taking over another person's body. So I guess maybe that means we are supposed to interpret it to be a different thing.
Yeah, but then again, regeneration is also different every time we see it.
Well, that's true. I don't know.
And this is actually one of the weirder regenerations in this story.
Yeah, because it was... Were we meant to assume that the Watcher was the Fifth Doctor?
The Watcher is like a projection of the Doctor.
Oh, okay.
That assists in the regenerative process.
Interesting.
Which is... There's actually another Time Lord that you meet in a Third Doctor story called Planet of the Spiders, who does the same thing. He regenerates in that way by making a projection of himself, and then they sort of join together or something to regenerate. And it's not really explained what all that is all about, but it kind of keeps it strange and different, and sometimes this is just how it works.
Well, there you go. And I'm completely fine with that.
And I think that's always been my understanding. Perhaps this is just me doing a little bit of fan fictioning on my part or something. But it's always been my understanding that that's what the Valyard is too. The Valyard is just one of those projections that went rogue.
That would make sense.
Yeah, may not be what was intended, but it's how I've always kind of thought about it.
That'd be cool.
So yeah, one of the things I was thinking of while watching this regeneration story, it was kind of hard not to think about the fact that the current Doctor, Matt Smith, is going to be regenerating before too long.
Yeah.
And I was thinking it would be kind of cool if they did something weird with the regeneration, kind of like what they did here. Maybe not exactly what they did here, but just to kind of shake things up a bit and, keep regeneration a little bit, mysterious and strange and otherworldly, which it really kind of should be.
Yeah, I'm all for that. So, like, a similar kind of Watcher type thing?
Yeah, maybe that, or maybe something completely different. Like, maybe Matt Smith, turns into like a transparent ghost for a while and then regenerates, or just something out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
Just the notion that regeneration doesn't always go the same way. Sometimes something a lot weirder can happen.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, I have to wonder, do you think that they'll do... I mean, they've been... oh, well, never mind. That's kind of a dumb thing to say.
Yeah, don't say any dumb things.
Yeah, I wouldn't want that. No, what I was going to say was, I wonder if they'll do a different kind of regeneration effect, because we haven't seen that, but I realize we actually have seen that in the Impossible Astronaut, technically. Well, it was the Tesletta, but...
Right. Yeah. I know, I remember when the 9th Doctor regenerates into the 10th, and when the 10th Doctor regenerates into the 11th, it's all relatively similar effects.
Yeah.
Pretty much every regeneration we've seen in New Who, whether it was 9 into 10, 10 into Metacrisis 10, 10 into 11, the Master into the Master. It's all look basically the same.
Right.
So I don't know if they're gonna switch that up or keep it the same. Who knows?
Yeah. And I mean, I guess there's no reason, because I was thinking in my head like, oh, we've already seen what Matt Smith regenerating looks like, and that can't change. But I mean, like, obviously, since that was like a projected sort of thing, I mean, obviously Matt Smith's actual regeneration could be different, and it could be a different effect. I mean, like, the question is whether or not they'll stick with the kind of regeneration that they've been doing since New Who started. And it'd be cool to see it, for it to be different.
Yeah. I feel like they shouldn't get too boxed into an idea of, all right, this is what regeneration is like now. Right. Especially when it has been true in the past that it's been different sometimes.
Yeah, I think it'd be cool to make to do things differently, like leading up to the regeneration, or have the regeneration happen differently. Although the thing that I really don't like, and I don't like this when TV shows just do this in general, is when like a character is kind of like just like not conscious, I guess, for a large part of it. Like, I just don't like it when I didn't like Christmas Invasion, because the 10th Doctor was mostly asleep or whatever for a majority of that episode, and that just like bothers me. I mean, like, to some extent. So what I'm saying is, like, they could do different things, but I don't want them to. I don't want them to do anything that would reduce the 12th Doctor's screen time. I don't know, but other than that, I'm completely fine with.
Yeah, I think. Well, I don't know. It depends on. I don't know. For me, it depends on what it is.
Yeah, I guess if it's interesting.
We don't even really know for sure whether at what point in the Christmas special Matt Smith is going to regenerate.
That's true.
Could be halfway through. Could be at the very beginning. It could be they do a 6th Doctor into 7th regeneration, where the cause of regeneration is simply falling over, and just at the beginning of the story, just the 12th Doctor gets up in Matt Smith's clothes and is like, huh, I guess I just regenerated.
There you have it. Why not? But
the strangest and weirdest regeneration of all.
Yeah.
What did you think of the introduction of Tegan?
So I don't really like Tegan a whole lot.
No.
I
to be perfectly honest, I'm not 100% crazy about her. I like the idea of a companion who has just a combative relationship with the Doctor.
Uh-huh.
If they were going to do that, I mean, they could at least make it a little more funny, or right. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like her complaints aren't terribly interesting. I mean, it's just, it sounds a lot of the time like she's just complaining to complain.
How many stories with Tegan have you seen?
This is quite possibly my only one.
Well, you've also seen Earthshock as well, right?
She was okay, yeah, it's been a really long time.
Yeah.
So I guess I've seen that too. Yeah, I'm basing my impressions almost entirely off of just this episode.
She's not always quite as obnoxious as she is in this episode.
Oh, well, good.
But she does get a little bit grating at times.
Okay.
And I think if you saw more stories with her, you might like her a little better. But one of the really weird things about her in this story is just how airplane focused she is.
That's true.
I understand that she wants to be an air stewardess. I guess that makes some sense. I don't know why she's all that interested in it, but sure. But she is so interested in airplanes that she just has contempt for cars, which I just thought was hilariously nonsensical. Yeah. And the whole scene where she's like talking about how contemptuous she is of cars, and right. her auntie Vanessa is talking about how desperate she is to meet a knight errant.
Yeah.
It seemed like some kind of, like, I don't know, some bizarre avant-garde play or something. Like, where characters just behave in ways that are completely not naturalistic or have no bearing on reality.
That's true. That definitely, yeah, I definitely got that kind of a vibe. Maybe I'm misremembering this, but she somehow seemed to know that the TARDIS was a spaceship. But I mean, yeah, all right, bigger on the inside. That's probably a clue. But I don't really remember. It seemed like she just sort of knew that. And I didn't think that was really explained.
Well, I feel like at first she kind of she immediately gets that it's some kind of craft, perhaps to her stewardess training. I don't know, but she immediately understands that, you know, she's in something that has a pilot.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And then I guess she gets that it's a spaceship, probably quicker than it really makes sense for her to get.
Right. I mean, like, if there was like a window she could look out of and see, like, I don't know, Earth shrinking in the distance. Not that that's how the TARDIS flies, but we can pretend. Then that would, you know, then you'd be like, oh yeah, all right. You know, that any reasonable person would assume that, oh, I'm leaving Earth in what must be a spaceship. But there's no real windows, so I don't know how anyone could make that reasonable assumption.
Yeah, especially because where she eventually ends up is the Cloister room.
Right.
Which isn't very spaceship looking.
No, it's not. So yeah, there's that. Speaking of, I really like seeing all the interior shots of the TARDIS, because I feel like that's something, I don't know, maybe we just don't get enough of. And it was kind of, I don't know, I felt like it was sort of presenting a little bit more of the, I don't know, I liked seeing like the interior space of the TARDIS and sort of getting a feel for the layout of it. And I like that.
Yeah, it's it's kind of a feature of this era almost.
Mm-hmm.
Like we find out about, you know, bedrooms and things like that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, in the era that's about to ensue, you have 4 people on the TARDIS. You have the Doctor and 3 companions. And so it sort of becomes a little bit more homey. Mm-hmm. Like the TARDIS is their home and it's where they live. So you kind of get more of a sense of the TARDIS as something other than just, you know, the magic carpet that they fly around on. It's a place in and of itself, which is good because it is.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of, like, bedrooms and stuff, it was interesting that the Doctor, like, jettisons Romana's room, because you know, it's funny because there are things that I don't realize are actually from the classic series as opposed to the new series, like, because I see them, or I encounter them first in the new series, and then I realize that they've actually, and I thought, like, oh, that's an interesting concept. And then I see them in the classic series and like, oh, hey, that's the thing that existed in the classic series. And jettisoning rooms being one of those things, because that happens in The Doctor's Wife.
Yeah.
So I didn't realize that was a classic Doctor Who thing.
Yeah, I think it's just the story. But yeah, it is there.
Yeah.
It certainly is there.
Yeah. So it's canon.
It is definitely canon.
Another minor thing is that there's a sound effect that the TARDIS console makes that I think I first heard in, I want to say, the 11th hour at the end, when they're showing the interior of the TARDIS and they've got the big, you know, wonderful sounding music, and then like the Doctor's doing things on the console and it makes this kind of a noise. Not really. That's a terrible rendition of it, but like that kind of a noise, and the console actually made that same noise in this episode, and I didn't realize that was also from the classic series. That's a classic series TARDIS console noise.
I'm not actually sure what you're referring to, but I believe you.
You know what? I kind of want to find it, and like when I'm editing this episode, go in and instead of my impression of it, actually insert the actual sound effect, so it'll sound to the listeners, it'll sound like I'm doing this awesome, I don't know how I would even describe it, it's like a little beep boop kind of noise.
Beep boop, yeah. The beeps and the boops, yeah. What did you think of Tom Baker's final performance?
I thought it was pretty good. Like, I didn't think it didn't really seem like he was like phoning it in or anything. I mean, for the most part.
No, and I think there was a bit of real hatred again.
Yeah.
I got the Adric hatred. Once more. I do think he did a pretty good job here. It was a very, very grave and not especially humorous performance from him, and I know he kind of liked to do humorous stuff, but still, it was. I thought it was a good exit for him, and he got a good final line as well.
Yeah.
It's the end, but the moment has been prepared for.
Yeah, it's a pretty nifty line. But yeah, no, I liked that whole regeneration scene. I thought that was cool. Because this is obviously, the Doctor who has been the longest running Doctor, and it was kind of cool to see that sort of closure, and that regeneration scene being kind of, I don't know, reflective of all of his time on the show, and getting the flashbacks of all the different companions and stuff, and that's cool.
I think that in comparison to some other regenerations, the reason he regenerates is perhaps a little lame.
Oh.
He just falls.
That's true.
In the End of Time, David Tennant falls from way higher and then doesn't regenerate.
That's true. Well, that never really made a whole lot of... Yeah. I mean, I try not to think about that because it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense at all. But yeah. That's true. It's true. Yeah, if you're gonna put this in the perspective of all the other regenerations, then yeah. I mean, the Ninth Doctor absorbed like all the energy of the time vortex, I think, or something like that. And, that's a pretty cool way to go.
Yeah.
But yeah, I guess so. Falling, yeah. Kind of a little, just a little lame.
A little bit.
And I had not thought about that, I will say.
What did you think of Peter Davison's performance?
His sitting upright?
Yeah.
I thought that was some pretty intense upright sitting.
Yeah, his hair was a little darker than I think it is when he's properly introduced in the following story.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
Or maybe it's just the lighting. I don't know.
That pesky lighting.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it was interesting. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a weird, maybe I'm just thinking of, like the new series Regenerations, where we get a little bit more of the next Doctor after the regeneration happens. Because it just seems kind of weird. Tom Baker's been the Doctor for so long. They do the regeneration, pops up as a different actor, and then end credits. And then that's just like it. There's no...
Yeah, well, that's kind of how it was for the first into second, and the second into third we didn't even get to see, and then the third into fourth is that way as well. So, yeah, that's, and then, however, when the Fifth Doctor regenerates into the Sixth Doctor in Caves of Androzani, there's a little bit more to it, where he has lines and stuff. But
yeah, that's weird. It just seems so sudden. I don't know, and I know that's it's typical, but it just seems sudden.
If I had been a fan watching in the day, I might have been a little bit disappointed, because I might have been curious to see, what the new guy is like, even just a tiny bit of a teaser.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and I think that would be really neat.
But it's not that disappointing to me, because I have the next DVD right on my shelf.
Well, there you go. Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely true. I just, I don't know. It just seems like story-wise, you'd want to sort of, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It seems like a weird way to leave it.
It is a little, it isn't much.
Yeah. But yeah, no, it's, did a great job sitting up.
He did.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, because, I mean, like, in, certainly from 10 to 11, which was the first regeneration that I saw, as it was happening. Yeah, you know what I mean. Seeing just that little bit of Matt Smith at the end of Time Part 2, that got me excited for Series 5, and that was exciting.
Oh yeah, me too.
And I have to wonder how excited I would be for the next season of Doctor Who if I'd have been watching the Fourth Doctor regenerated into the Fifth. And the answer would probably be, well, I don't know. I actually don't know. Maybe at the time this would have been just the bee's knees.
Could have been. What'd you think of the music?
I don't know. What was I supposed to think of it?
I don't know. I don't know. I just kind of, I kind of like the Paddy Kingsland music, which Paddy Kingsland did several of the stories in the season we just watched, and I think one of my favorite pieces of music is, it might be a little silly, but at the end when they're around the Ferris Project, and they're kind of running around in the exterior shots, there's this kind of guitar thing that plays.
I don't really remember it.
Perhaps it didn't strike you like it struck me.
I guess it didn't. Can't really think of it. Well, I guess I'll look out for that on subsequent reviewings. I don't know.
Please do.
I will. So it was good then?
Well, I liked it.
And that's really all that matters. I mean,
So, what did you think of the Master?
I thought it was, he was good.
I thought his plan got a little silly at points.
Yeah, I don't really know if I understand. He was just like so convinced that this was like, no, you're just trying to make me look bad. This is actually supposed to work. Which I don't know. I don't know why he thought that it was supposed to work the way he wanted it to work.
Perhaps he was just stubborn.
Maybe.
But yeah, he I guess he was trying to just take over the universe in a really convoluted way. Sometimes the most convoluted way is the best.
Yeah, it really is. I think that's definitely the best way to do those things.
I also thought it was really creepy how he pretended to be Tremus.
Yeah, that was really creepy. That really, really was. And yeah, and I can only imagine the nightmares that Nyssa is having
for the rest of her life.
Yeah.
And now, not only is her father dead, but also everyone she ever knew.
Yes. All her friends, just everyone.
I believe this has the highest death toll of any Doctor Who story.
Oh, that's interesting.
Because, large sections of the universe.
That's true.
Are destroyed.
Yeah, that's pretty intense. Yeah, that doesn't happen very often, or it happens, but then is reset. Seems to be the standard.
Yeah, it may be out. Well, I don't know if Nightmare in Silver counts, because there's a big section of the universe that gets destroyed, but it's already happened by the time.
Yeah, it's past tense.
Yeah, it's the point where Warwick Davis points up and says, "Look at that great big empty blackness in the sky with nothing in it," and then Clara looks up and there's this great big blue swirly vortex, and she's like, "Yep, I see that great big empty blackness with nothing in it."
Yes, exactly. Yes, that part. Yeah. So I don't. Yeah, it's tough to say if that counts. It probably doesn't.
I'm not counting it.
There you go. But it's implied that there was a heavy death toll there. Well, that's actually directly stated. But it's that happened long before the Doctor got involved, so yeah, I can't really say that was part of the episode.
Yeah, and likewise in, say, Human Nature and Family of Blood, I wouldn't count the entire death toll of World War I.
Right, exactly. But you probably could.
You could conceivably, because the story begins before the war and it ends long after the war.
Yes.
So you could probably make a case for it.
Probably throw in some other wars in there too.
Yeah, just any wars that happened, any death at all that happened between the beginning and the end.
Yeah, wow. The Doctor's truly blood-soaked by all these unrelated deaths.
Yep.
I had another question about the Master.
Oh.
Because in this episode, we see him kill people by apparently, turning them into dolls?
Oh, yeah, he uses the tissue compression eliminator.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yes.
Okay, I was wondering if that was, an established thing.
Well, it was established, but it wasn't, super established. I think he used it in one story before this.
Oh, okay.
There was one Third Doctor story where the Master used that, but from this point on, it's pretty much his whole deal in the classic series. He's just turning people into dolls or tissue compressed, eliminated people. That's his whole MO, basically.
Yeah. I was actually expecting Tegan's aunt. I don't know. It was weird that she got killed. I kind of thought there was going to be something where the Doctor could reverse the process or something, but
nope.
Seems to have no interest in doing that.
This is not a Stephen Moffat episode.
I guess not. I don't know. That once again contributes to the death count. I was surprised.
It is just a fact that that's what the Master does a lot. I don't really understand why he chooses that particular way. Unless it's just really funny to him. I guess it must be this sadism thing, I guess. I don't know.
Well, he seemed to really get a kick out of shrinking the TARDIS, too. He's like, I finally cut you down to size. Yes. Maybe he says that every time he murders someone with the tissue compression, whatever.
Eliminator,
there you go.
Yeah, it just happens off page, or off screen, rather. Yeah, so I'm sure he does.
Yeah, he almost has to. I mean, and once you stumble upon that delightful phrase, I mean, you really have to do it every time.
Yeah, he doesn't do it in the new series, except insofar as he turns David Tennant into a shriveled old Dobby.
Yes, precisely. Yeah, if we ever see the Master again, I really hope he brings that back.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun.
That's on my wish list of things for them to bring back to Doctor Who.
The tissue compression eliminator. I'm sure they could figure out a way to do that.
Why not?
Why not, indeed.